Hello, good day everyone. My name is Heng Ekzi with metric number 254807. So in this video, I will be discussing and presenting about my assignment 2 of Civil Procedure 2 with the topic of taxation of costs and Bullock and Sanderson orders. And first of all, let me introduce my group members. We are from group 6 and my team consists of me, myself, and Penny Key 254416, Li Yihuan 254631, Ting Leong Hua 255082, and Vaishnavi Saravanan 255426. So without wasting any time, let us proceed with the first topic, which is the security for costs. The court, upon its discretion, at any time, may direct the plaintiff to offer the security for the defendant's cost of actions or any further actions at any stage of the proceedings by the fulfillment of any one of the four conditions as I stated in the following. Firstly, the plaintiff has changed his address during the proceedings. Secondly, the plaintiff's service address is purposefully excluded or misrepresented. So the term service here is actually referred to the service of the notice or service of the court order or even the service of the letter. And the third one, the plaintiff is a fake plaintiff, which means that the plaintiff is suing on behalf of someone else. And lastly, the plaintiff is a non-resident within the court's jurisdiction, which means that the plaintiff is not a resident in Malaysia or a resident outside from the territory of Malaysia. In the position of Malaysia, there is actually a new amended Order 23, Rule 2A of the Rules of Court 2012, which is the order of security from non-participants of the case. This will happen in two conditions. First, if the non-party have agreed to contribute to a plaintiff cost and as in return for a share of any money or property recovered by the plaintiff. And secondly, if the non-party is a person against whom a cost order may be issued as well. To impose such security for cost, the court actually has to examine some of the circumstances as stated in the case of Lindsay Parkinson and Co. against Triplan Limited. So the circumstances, I can roughly categorize it into three, which is the first one, the winning possibility of plaintiff without going into the case merits. Secondly, if the cost-cutting applications for security is much oppressive. And third one is there is a delay in filing of the application. And this condition we can find in the Brisking Industries Sundaram Berhad and another against MBF Insurance Berhad. Next, we proceed to the taxation of costs. So for the taxation of costs, the court has been awarding more and more costs. In general, the expenses are to be recovered around 1/3 of those paid to one's own lawyer. And the judges have started granting lump sum orders for the cost at the moment of the judgment to be delivered. This is to reduce the time it takes to tax the cost. And also, the quantity granted is mostly determined by three of the factors, which is the first one, the status and the seniority of the counsel present. Secondly, the complexity of the issue at hand. And lastly, the quantum of the disputed subject matter. So according to Order 59 of Rules of Court 2012, the cost will no longer be taxed. And also, the court empowered to award total sum instead. The new distribution table for High Court and also the subordinate court procedures and also the new pricing structure for actions before the subordinate courts are the new rules. The allocator fees is to be set at 4% of the expenses that the court has approved. And this is to separate the order for expenses to ensure that the extraction of the main order or the main judgment is not to be affected by the failure of the party to pay off the allocator fee. For the Bullock and Sanderson order, it normally be granted in a civil case where the trial involves a single plaintiff, and two or more defendants. And in a situation when the plaintiff won against some of the defendants but lost against some of the others, this makes the issue becomes more difficult or more complex. So based on the usual norms, the failed defendant or the unsuccessful defendant must pay the expenses of the victorious plaintiff. Meanwhile, the victorious plaintiff is liable to pay the expenses of the successful or the victorious defendants. If this general rule is to be followed, the plaintiff will then be forced to pay part of the defendant's costs on the basis of partially indemnity if the suit is lost against one or more defendants. So in some of the cases, the plaintiff's lawyer will actually seek for the court order to order the failed defendant to pay the expenses of the successful defendants. With this, the Bullock or Sanderson order is coming into the picture. And of course, same rationale is to be applied in both of the orders that I mentioned before. And it is very common in a civil case to go for a trial against several defendants when the allocation of culpability is unclear, generally due to the interwoven facts. So in some of the conditions, Bullock and Sanderson orders offer, I can say that, quite adequate remedy to the plaintiff. Plaintiff must pay the expenses of the successful defendants, but the failed defendants must refund the plaintiff for the cost that the plaintiff have to pay for the successful defendants. So let me explain the difference between two orders. In Bullock order, the failed defendants are obliged or responsible to pay the successful defendants' expenses indirectly. And this order will only be issued by the court if the capacity of the successful defendants to recover their cost judgment from the failed defendants is in doubt. On the other hand, in Sanderson order, the failed defendants are required to pay the successful defendants directly for the expenses. This will be issued by the court if the capacity of the successful defendants to recover their cost judgment from the failed defendants is not in question, or in the other words, there will be no any issues. So the results and the purpose for both the orders are the same actually, but only the approaches are different, and it will totally depends on the capacity of the successful defendants to determine that whether Bullock or Sanderson order to be applied. Yeah, and here comes to the end of our discussion and sharing of this presentation video. Thank you everyone for watching this.